Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 27th Feb today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which are very much relevant for your prelims preparation. Before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give the brief introduction about this initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically, in this video, we'll try to discuss three types of questions, and these three types of questions would be taken from three different sources. So, depending upon the sources, the first set of questions which we are going to solve here, we will take them from the current affairs. So we'll take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We'll try to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we'll try to derive the possible prelims questions from these particular articles so that it will give the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, what should be your approach when you are reading these news articles, and what kind of questions can you expect from these articles. This is what we are going to do in the first part of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the second part. Here we will discuss questions from the static topics. Currently we are discussing the Office of Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Today we are going to discuss a small topic with respect to that, and we will try to derive the possible prelims question from that particular topic so that it will give the idea how actually can a question be asked in the exam with respect to these topics. With this, after solving questions from the current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion. Here we will solve a previous year question. To me, this is the most important part of our discussion because in here we learn what is the vocabulary used by UPSC for framing your papers, what are the different trends they try to follow when they frame your papers, and what can be the different methods by which we can solve the questions if we don't have the proper knowledge, what can be the different elimination methods that we will try to learn in this discussion, and also we'll try to learn how we can implement this knowledge in the upcoming exam. So this is in a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now, before we will start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel. When you subscribe us, it motivates us to work more hard on these topics and provide you the best information. So please do subscribe, do share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative if you are getting. And please do write in the comments what do you feel about this initiative. And if there is any doubt, please do write in the comments. We will try to clear that. With this, let's have a look at the first question which we had brought today. Here on the screen you can see the question is with respect to the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. So you may ask me a question here, sir, why we had brought this question, what is the reason for that? And if you would have read the newspaper, you would have definitely understood why we had brought this question. Basically, there was an article with respect to the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. It was basically criticizing this scheme from the government. It was criticizing its implementation, digital transfer implementation of it, and it was criticizing it because according to the authors, according to them, what was it meant for, it has not achieved it. But before we will discuss all those things, we will try to solve the question first, then we will shift it towards that part of our discussion. So let us solve the question first, get the basic idea about the scheme through this question. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. First statement, it says it is a centrally sponsored scheme implemented by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Here, guys, I would like to mention one thing that usually most of the times whenever there is a question which is statement based, a question in this style, and it talks about any ministry, most of the times, approximately 80 to 90% of the times, that statement is incorrect because it is the trend followed by UPSC. They about UPSC, one thing is very much expected, that they are very likely uh, to neglect any trend. So with respect to the first statement, as here we can see the statement mentions about the ministry. So most of the times what they do, the ministry they mention is incorrect, and same is the case with this statement. Even though this Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, it is a centrally sponsored scheme, but it is not implemented by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is implemented by the Ministry of Women and Child Welfare. So first statement is incorrect. It is centrally sponsored scheme, but it is not implemented by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, but Ministry of Women and Child Welfare. So first statement is incorrect. Now with this, let's move to the second statement and see what does it say. Second statement says the scheme provides a cash incentive to pregnant women and lactating mothers for the first living child of the family. 100% correct. It is for the first living child, and in exceptional cases it will go to the second child if the second child is a girl child. If second child is a girl child, then only it can go to the second child also, but usually it is for the first child of the family only. So this statement is correct. Third statement, the cash benefit is provided in 3 installments upon fulfilling specific health and nutrition conditions. 100% correct. It is done into 3 installments. In the first installment, when the woman registers with some healthcare, government healthcare, then she will get 1000. Then after when the child is born, she will get 2000. After that she will get again 2000, again 2000, and finally she will get 1000. Usually it is usually through this scheme it is given only say 5000 is given, but this extra 1000 is given via Janana Suraksha Abhiyan, that scheme. This extra 1000 is given here. So indeed this whole benefit is provided into 3 installments. Of these 5000, it is provided into 3 installments. So statement 3 is also correct. Moving to the fourth statement here, the statement says the scheme is universally applicable to all pregnant women and lactating mothers irrespective of their employment status. This is totally incorrect. Basically this scheme is applicable to only those who are working outside the organized or formal sector. That means all the women in the group of the informal sector or unorganized sector, those women are eligible for this scheme. So fourth option is totally incorrect. So with respect to this question, what are the correct statements? Statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3 are the correct statements with respect to this question. With respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3 only. So now we understood what this question is about. Basically in this question I had not used options properly, so I would mark option A as correct. I had added the third option in it. So with respect to this question, we understood, I hope you had understood what are these what does this Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana is all about. It provides the cash benefit to the woman, to the pregnant woman. The major basically this scheme was introduced in 2017. In 2017 it was introduced, and where from it draws its motivation. This scheme draws its motivation from the National Food Security Act of 2013. In the National Food Security Act of 2013, it was promised that 6000 would be almost 6000 rupees would be provided to the lactating woman or pregnant woman, so that the mortality rate, their financial dependence will be curbed. Their financial dependence will be curbed. Basically this scheme, it is targeting whom it is targeting. It is targeting those who are working in the unorganized sectors. Whenever such women who are working in the unorganized sector, they go through this phase of the pregnancy, it hinders their working capabilities. When it hinders their working capabilities, so it can impact their nutrition level, it can impact their financial dependence. So to overcome this issue, the government has brought in this scheme, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. And under this scheme, one thing is very much important, that they have to provide the Aadhaar cards, and the money would be provided directly to their bank accounts. And that is exactly what is the major criticism of this scheme. And also, in this scheme, as we saw in the question, in the statement, it would be implemented in 3 phases. Under 3 installments, it is implemented in 3 phases. In the first phase, 1000 is given when they register with the healthcare facility. Second, 2000 are given when they go for the first checkup, and another 2000 is given when the child is born and registered with the health facility. And finally the 1000, it is given through the scheme Janani Suraksha Yojana. This scheme provides the last 1000. But here first the criticism is of the direct benefit transfer, that this is one of the major issue, that everybody is not included in it, because many people, they don't have the other linked accounts. So it definitely impacts the implementation of the scheme. It impacts the targeted audience of the scheme. All the people, all the women are not included in it. The second thing which the author here highlights, that what is the major drawback of the scheme is the amount of money which is given to the woman. 6,000 is very much less in present time. According to author, it should have been increased to 12,000 per per pregnant woman, but it is kept at 6,000, and 6,000 in 2013, and still in 2024 we know how much inflation has impacted. So this 6,000 is very less amount for the woman. And also he criticizes the budgetary allocation given to the scheme, and that is also very much less. Only 870 crore is the budgetary allocation given to this scheme, and according to the author, this is also very much less for the scheme to to get the to provide this money to every woman in our country which is working in unorganized sector. And also about the implementation of the scheme, it has been found out that the effective coverage of the scheme was earlier in 2013, 17 and 18, it was only 36%. That first installment was given to only 36% of the women, and now this has increased to only 9%. So there is definitely a gap of the implementation of the scheme, that people are not really benefiting from this scheme. This whole idea, whole discussion, this discussion whole basically revolved around the criticism of this scheme. So it becomes important for us, being aspirants for UPSC. It becomes, this topic becomes important for your UPSC preparation, whether it would be prelims. In a prelims question, in a prelims paper, a question about its implementation can be asked. A question about is it centrally sponsored or central sector scheme, under which ministry it comes, you need to know about this. And also a question about it can be asked in the mains exam too, about its implementation, how the woman health will be, is protected under this scheme, and various types of questions can be asked with respect to this scheme. And also a broader question can be asked, in which you can mention this Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, how government is trying to elevate the woman in our country. So with this, I hope you had understood the question and also the context of the question. Now let's move to the another slide and see what we had brought there. Here the question is basically with respect to the delimitation commission. To be honest, this delimitation commission was nowhere in the newspaper today, but there was definitely discussion about the delimitation, about the loss of seats. Usually this delimitation is basically done on the basis of the number of population, and it definitely impacts the seats in the Lok Sabha. So there is definitely concern from the southern states, that once they had implemented the family planning and they had controlled the population growth in those particular states, it should not negatively impact their representation in the parliament. In the parliament, it should not negatively impact this. So with this, there is definitely concern with respect to the South Indian states. To this, the central government has responded that this will not impact their growth. They will not lose any seat in the Lok Sabha. But the answer was not very much clear. To this, the southern states again highlighted that even though we will not lose any seat in the parliament, but there are definitely chances that we will be stagnated where we are right now, and the northern states, their seats will definitely increase. So this is the whole argument about delimitation commission. Delimitation, it is done usually after every census, and the seats are aligned, the constituencies are aligned with respect to that. So with this, we need to understand what this delimitation commission is. So let's understand it through this question. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding the delimitation commission in India. First statement, the delimitation commission is appointed by the President of India and works under the supervision of the Election Commission of India. 100% correct, nothing wrong with the statement. Second, the order of delimitation commission have the force of law and cannot be called in question before any court. 100% correct. This is also correct statement. Please do remember that. Third statement, the delimitation commission is constituted after every census by an act of parliament. Even though it is constituted by the act of the parliament, but it is not necessary that it would be constituted after every census. That is not the prime, that is not that is not something written in the law. So this statement becomes incorrect. Fourth statement, the composition of delimitation commission includes the chief statement is incorrect. Here is the correct explanation of this statement. The composition of delimitation commission includes retired Supreme Court judges, the chief election commissioner, and the state election commissioners of the respective states. So this would be the correct composition of the delimitation commission. So with this, I hope you had understood the composition of delimitation commission, what its authority is, and also the question and also the context of this question, why we had brought it here. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought here. Here the question is with respect to section 8 of the Representation of People Act 1951. We had discussed it earlier before, approximately a week ago we discussed this question with respect to the Representation of People Act 1951. Why we are discussing this question? Because there are various pleas in the Supreme Court which the Supreme Court is considering that there should be lifetime ban on the people, on the lifetime ban on the convicted politicians. If they are convicted for the criminal cases, there should be lifetime ban on them. And with this, the Supreme Court is considering it, and the government is totally opposing these pleas. They think that it is very much, it is very much against their whole idea of the representation of the people. So there are different stands from the Supreme Court as well as from the right now. The Supreme Court is just considering it. They will say they had accepted the pleas and they will decide over it, and the government is very much against those pleas. Now here we need to understand what is the current situation with respect to the convicted people in our country, so that we will understand through section 8 of the Representation of People Act 1951. So let's solve the question and get the idea. Here the question says, regarding section 8 of the Representation of People Act 1951, which of the following statements are correct? First statement, it deals with the disqualification of a person convicted of certain offences from contesting elections. 100% correct. It deals with the disqualification. Second, it specifies that disqualification applies only to offences punishable with imprisonment of 2 years or more. 100% correct. That is also true. Please remember that. Third, disqualifications under section 8 takes effect from the date of conviction and continues for a period of 6 years after the release. 100% correct. So to this, there are pleas that this disqualification should be lifetime ban. It should not be only up till the 6 years. So this is the right what is in the Supreme Court, and let's see what does the Supreme Court say. We will definitely take the proper discussion over it. But right now, what do you need to know? This much is enough for you if any question would be asked with respect to this question in the exam. So with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Now here the question is with respect to UN Nations peacekeeping mission. Why we had brought this question? Because the world is acknowledging the efforts of the India, how we had contributed all women contingents to UN missions, and world is acknowledging that, and at the same time how India is one of the largest troop contributors to UN peacekeeping missions. But at the same time, from the Indian side and other Indian side and other countries who contribute to it, there is a concern that these peacekeepers, whenever contributed, whenever provided, they don't come under the domain, they don't come under the control of these countries, but they come under the control of UN Security Council. And we know the UN Security Council is very much under the control of P5 countries. So here there is one of the concern which the countries like there definitely should be the reform in this context with respect to the UN peacekeeping mission, that the countries who are contributing these troops, they should come very much under the domain of these countries, because most of the times it has been found out that these troops, they face difficulties in the terrains, in the regions where they are being installed. So this is why we had brought this question here, and it becomes important for us to know where India stands with respect to peacekeepers, and what is India's approach, and to under which control they come. So that we'll understand through this question. Here the question says, regarding India's contribution to United Nations peacekeeping missions, consider the following statements. First statement, India is consistently among the top 5 troop contributing countries to UN peacekeeping operations. 100% correct. Currently, India stands at 4th position. And how many troops we are providing to UN peacekeeping? It is approximately 5,466 Indian troops are currently with respect to the UN peacekeeping mission. And from the years, we had almost contributed 2 lakh peacekeepers. 2 lakh peacekeepers we had contributed. So definitely India is one of the top country in UNP who had contributed to UN peacekeeping missions. So first statement is correct. Second statement, India has deployed all women contingents to UN missions, notably in Liberia, and this is 100% correct. Even though we had contributed it, and the world is acknowledging the efforts of the India, and they are praising India for that. But at the same time, as I already mentioned, these don't come once we provide these troops, they don't come under domain, and they feel high, you know, various number of issues when they are installed in different countries. And the reason for that is they come very much under the UN Security Council, which is basically the P5 countries. So definitely there is issue with respect to that, and the countries like India, Pakistan, Nepal, who are the major troop contributors, they are demanding that there should be reforms with respect to that. Coming to the third statement, Indian keepers primarily serve in observer and administrative roles rather than combat roles. Totally incorrect. Fourth statement, India's contributions are limited to troop deployment with no significant provision of logistical or medical support. This is also incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 2 only. So you may wonder, would UPSC really ask such questions? Trust me, UPSC can ask anything, and this question can be asked in the exams. When UPSC can ask about the squirrel, they can definitely ask about this. So please remember that. So with this, let's move to the last part of second another part of our discussion. Now let's move to the another question from the static from the current affairs part. This would be the last question from the current affairs part. Then we will shift to this static part. Here the question is with respect to the ethanol blending, the negative impact of the ethanol blending, because there was discussion over it. Even though India has achieved its, goal, we earlier our goal was to blend ethanol with gasoline E20 till 2030, then it was reduced to 2025. Now, with respect to that, this article, it has highlighted the negative impacts of the ethanol blending, how it can impact the food security, because what are the crops from where we get ethanol, it can impact food security, it can impact the groundwater. Because usually ethanol is being, it is we get ethanol from the first generation and second generation majorly, and these first generation and second generation, for them there is definitely need of huge water should be available for them. So definitely it can impact the water security also. So with respect to this, let's understand the question and get more idea about it. What are the negative impacts of the ethanol blending? And the question says, regarding the negative impacts associated with the blending of ethanol with gasoline, consider the following statements. First statement, ethanol blending can lead to increased water usage in agricultural practices due to the cultivation of sugarcane and other ethanol food stocks. 100% correct. It can definitely impact the water security. Second statement, the energy content of the ethanol is lower than that of the gasoline, potentially resulting in reducing fuel efficiency. 100% correct. That is also true. The automobile engineers can understand it very properly. Third statement, ethanol blending contributes significantly to the depletion of groundwater resources in regions reliant on intensive agriculture. 100% correct. And the concerns from many states, especially in Andhra Pradesh, has raised that there is definitely blending of ethanol. There is definitely impact on the groundwater, depletion of groundwater. Fourth statement, the widespread adoption of ethanol blending has demonstrably led to a decrease in food crop production due to the diversion of agricultural land. No, it is incorrect, because widespread adoption of ethanol blending will definitely increase the food crop production. So definitely this statement is incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3 only. So with this, I hope you had understood what are the negative impacts associated with the ethanol blending. With this, let's move to the another part of our discussion where we will solve a static topic. Here, as we know, currently we are discussing questions from the Indian polity, and right now we are discussing questions from the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. So with this regard, we need to understand Article 75, which is the core article to understand the Prime Minister and we can say Council of Ministers. If we want to understand that, we can understand it through Article 75. Let us solve this question and get the idea about it. Regarding Article 75 of Indian Constitution, consider the following statements. First statement, it stipulates that the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President. 100% correct. It stipulates that. Second statement, it establishes the principle of collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers to the Lok Sabha, 100% correct. It establishes that principle. Third, it mandates that the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister, in the Council of Ministers shall not exceed 15% of the total members of the Rajya Sabha. Till this of the it is correct, because it shall not, the cabinet minister shall not exceed the 15% of the total members of not Rajya Sabha but Lok Sabha. Please remember that. Here most of the students will lose it because they know the statement is correct. Usually we don't read between the lines and we think the statement is correct and we'll mark it correct, but the real exam is at the last end. So please remember every word to word when you read. For example, I would tell you one thing here. Most of the times, majorly the students who study well, who work hard, who are very much serious aspirants, most of the times in exam, if they read the questions properly, most of the times they can easily crack the exam. But unfortunately, the exam pressure does not let them do so. So this habit, you have to develop it. You have to develop this habit, reading the questions properly. Most of the times you can easily mark the question correct, but unfortunately at exam pressure it hinders it. But if you will be calm, if you will be you will take it easy, if you will be very much relaxed in the exam, you can definitely mark questions correctly. These questions are the turning point of your exam. These questions decide your whether you will get selected or not. And the truth is, these questions, but because of your own mistakes you mark them incorrectly. So remember these things, read line by line, read every point here and mark the questions correctly. So coming back to the question, this statement is incorrect because of this term only. It is actually in Lok Sabha, not in Rajya Sabha. Fourth statement, it outlines the procedure for the removal of individual ministers by the president. No, it does not explicitly outline this procedure. So fourth statement is incorrect. So with respect to this question, what are the correct statements? Correct statements are statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3 only. Also here I had marked the options incorrectly, statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3 only. So the correct option would be option C. With this, sorry, statement 1 and statement 2 only. Basically option 3 is incorrect. So with this we understood the article 75 also. This is the last part of our discussion with respect to the president and the council of ministers. From tomorrow we will see what we will take with what our topic would be. Majorly we will take up the attorney general for India from tomorrow, but today this would be the last question from the prime minister and the council of ministers. I hope you had understood it. And with this, let's move to the last part of our discussion and see what question we had brought. Here the question is from the physical geography. As you know, currently we are discussing the world geography, and this question, it was asked in 1996. So let's see what was the question. The question says the Palk Bay lies between, very easy question. If you know the geography between India and Sri Lanka, you will definitely answer it. It lies between Gulf of Mannar and Bay of Bengal. So the correct answer to this is option 3. About the Palak Bay Strait, it separates India and Sri Lanka. It lies between the Gulf of Mannar and the Bay of Bengal. So correct answer to this is option 2. So with this we complete our discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would share it with your friends. And I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. And if there is any doubt or any confusion, please do write in the comments. We will try our best to reach out to you guys. With this, I would like to say thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much and have a nice day.